VIBErations podcast, part 41, Philippe Reynaud, recorded on the 4th of May 2022. Hi, I'm Gary Brightman, and this is my periodic podcast called VIBErations. Established in 2018, Vibe is a book and music shop situated in Moi Wo on Lantau Island in Hong Kong. So, what's been happening at the shop recently? On Saturday, the 30th of April, we hosted Steve Bernstein for his second gig at the shop. This time he played acoustic mandolin to a very appreciative audience, and needless to say, it was another big success. You can watch it on our YouTube channel, Live Vibe HK, which I'm sure you're already subscribed to by now, aren't you? Slightly less successful were our ageing shop shutters. They've probably been at the shop since the Silver Building was built back in 1976. They weigh a ton and are manual opening. So, for 4 years, I've been pre-opening them every day when the girls have been working at the shop. However, 2 Saturdays ago, the day of the gig, they finally gave up on us and I struggled to open them. Enlisting the help of Steve, our building and design guru, and delaying the gig for an hour, we finally got them open. But now, they're stuck open. We now await the landlord's discretion on getting a new set of aluminium shutters. Our 4th anniversary is fast approaching on the 21st of May, and we have a lot to do before that time. A new chill-out room will be unveiled, and also a new DJ console for our 2 record decks, amps and switch, etc. We'll invite the usual suspects and Facebook Live it at Vibe Silvermine Bay. All one word. Another quiet month on the sales front, possibly due to the weather and Hong Kong levers. Sound Studio 114 is now up and running. This purpose-built sound studio in my home on Lantau Island is now in business, and I'm producing our first audiobook, Jewel of the Sorcerers, written and narrated by Patrick Dransfield. There is no formal tariff for using the studio, and each requirement will, for now, be judged on a case-by-case basis. This part of the podcast is being recorded in here, and going forward can be used for any type of voice recording. And so, to this week's interview with Lantau-based psychic counsellor Philippe Reynaud. Gifted with a natural psychic ability for 25 years, Philippe assists his clients with issues ranging from life decisions, emotional difficulties, relationship issues, career, money and business concerns, spiritual growth, personal growth, exploring and changing old beliefs, metaphysical challenges, higher consciousness choices, goals, creation and much, much more. So, welcome to Studio 114, Philippe.
Studio 114. It's absolutely lovely, actually. It's very cosy.
Thank you. And you, believe it or not, are the very first person on this podcast series at episode 41 to be interviewed in here.
I'm flattered, but I think I deserve it.
I think you deserve it too. I would totally agree with you. Yes, you do. Okay, so as we do, we're going to start off with 10 questions. Mm-hmm. Question number 1 is, do you have a favourite book or author?
Favourite book, I would say, is The Little Prince by Saint-Exupery.
Yes.
It's just the way it combines sort of reality and dreams, I suppose, which has always appealed to me. I absolutely loved it. I can read it anytime.
Do you have a favourite musical artist?
Yes, and it's going to show my age, but it's basically Mick Jagger. Now, the Rolling Stones started in the 60s together with the Beatles, and at that time, my sister married an Englishman, so yes. I started going to London and so on. But it was wild, and when people, at the time, especially in London, everybody raved about the Beatles and so on, and wherever I'd go, people would be really angry at me because I'd say, no, I really prefer the Rolling Stones. I love Mick Jagger. So, yeah, it's how wild he was, which I always loved.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, I think he was a real showman.
Yes,
from the start, he was a showman, like Bowie was a showman.
Yeah.
So next question is, do you have a preferred drink?
That'd be gin and tonic.
Yeah.
And no, actually, I have to say 2. Gin and tonic is, if you go out in the evening, but I love a nice glass of rosé. Actually, yes, rosé is definitely my favorite drink. But I do love a nice rosé from Provence.
You can't be. Do you have a life motto?
I have a life motto that I'm trying to stick to. It's not easy. Somebody really, really important in my life always tells me, you need to live in the present. And I'm not very good at it, so I'm working on it all the time. I tend to live in the future. I'm a dreamer. I'm a dreamer. So I will say, oh yeah, well, when this happens, I will have this. When this happens, and I have to force myself to say, no, live in the present. Because basically, at the end of the day, the point of power is in the present.
Okay. That's very interesting. Because I thought you were going to say to me, you know, I always live in the past. I'm always thinking back on things. And I think a lot of people are in that.
I'll talk about the past later on when we talk about rebirthing and other things, because that's also something really important that I want to talk about.
Okay. Do you have a favourite Hong Kong walk?
A bit difficult to say just one, because I've lived in Lantau for 10 years now, and there are a lot of lovely walks. Now, I was born in North Africa by the sea, so any walk that is by the sea, I absolutely love. I used to, when I lived in Central, I used to love doing the Dragon Back.
Yes.
That
great
was
scenic walk.
Yeah, because I mean, you're sort of above the water, so you look down and all you see is the water.
Yes.
That's wonderful. Lantau is a bit different, but I do love the walk between Mui Wo and Hampton, where I live, but the one through the seafront.
Yes, I know. Yeah. We love that one as well.
Yeah, that's very nice.
Do you have a favourite Hong Kong restaurant?
I do, and it's called the Ocean Rock. It used to be called Mijas, or I don't speak Spanish. So it's in Murray House in Stanley. I know that the last 2 years, because of the COVID and so on, the F&B business has really suffered. So I know that this restaurant is not quite what it used to be, but I know it will come out again.
Yes.
You know, it looks like all these things go in cycles. You know, this cycle with the COVID has been going on for 2 years. I think we're coming to the end of it, hopefully. And I know it rise from the ashes,
yes.
I have to say. But it's a lovely place, because I always have the same table at the corner. It's a terrace, and you overlook the harbour.
Yes.
And it's lovely. I love it.
Yeah, and it's got all that sort of lovely sort of Mediterranean tiles and things around, doesn't it? It is a very scenic.
Yeah.
And of course, back in the day, Murray House was over this side.
I know it was.
Faced with a python whilst walking up to the peak, what would you do?
Well, I usually talk to animals, and I never kill animals except for. We can't really consider them as animals, but mosquitoes I will kill.
Yes.
I would try my best to avoid it, and I don't know how. I don't know if the street, if the path is wide enough and it's not sort of up, ready to hit, but I will avoid it. Definitely.
Yes. Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. What's the best advice you were given?
Well, I would say it links to my motto: live in the present.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Finish this sentence. I live in Hong Kong because...
Because it's my home, basically. I've been here 21 years. The reason why I came here has changed, because I came to do a specific job which no longer exists, but it allowed me to move on and do other things. Hong Kong is a different place. It's very much, networking, and it's more open to being friendly with people much more than in Europe. In Europe, they will look at your CV, look at your age, and say, sorry, too old or too young, or not this, not that. Here, it's not the case at all.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, actually. I quite find that refreshing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I think we've probably both grown up in Europe where, you're basically trained to do a job which you end up probably doing most of your working life.
Yes.
And you're never allowed to think outside of that box, whereas you come to Hong Kong and suddenly... well, you can do that job down there if you
absolutely,
like.
Absolutely. There's no box in Hong Kong.
Yeah, which is great. Very healthy.
Yeah.
What's your favourite area of Hong Kong?
It has to be central. I mean, I know I don't party as much as I used to, but yes, that's where all the restaurants are, the bars are, and so on. And I love Lantau also. So I like the fact that, living on Lantau, I can have both, basically.
Yes. Yeah, you get the best of both worlds, can't you?
It's never far away. It's never far away.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. You can get your fix if you need it.
Yeah, exactly.
What made you come to Hong Kong in the first place?
Work. work. My brother-in-law, who's English, had a company, an IT company that supplied software and hardware to international law firms. As their name says, international law firms are international, and they want the same system in every office in the world. So this software, he could sell it, but he had to have an office in Asia to offer maintenance and support, basically.
Right.
So I've always been traveling. I've always been, even when I was based in London for like 20 years, every year I'd go to Bali, I'd go to Asia. So, but I'd never been to Hong Kong. And one day my sister called me and said, "Oh, Keith needs to go to Asia. You've traveled a lot. Do you know a good hotel in Hong Kong?" And went in Singapore. And I said, "Why?" And that's when she told me, "He needs to open an office." I said, "Hey, hang on a minute. I'll open it for him." I'd come to a time in life in London where I'd been there like 20 years. I needed to move on. So I came to open the office for him.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And I'd been to Singapore, I'd been to Thailand, I'd been to Vietnam, I'd been to Indonesia, but I had never been to Hong Kong. So I arrived literally with a suitcase 21 years ago.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm still here.
He's still here. Okay, so were you born in France or?
No, I was born in North Africa, in Algeria, when it was still French territory. It was not a colony. France was actually like a French department. It was a French territory. And then we moved to France when I was 14, just before the independence, because I have a brother that's about 8 years older than me. So when we moved, he was at an age where he was, according to my father, he was a bit too involved politically, and it became dangerous. So we were uprooted. So moved to France, and then I did all my studies, and I went to university in France and so on, and worked with my father, who's a chartered accountant, and I'm actually a lawyer.
Yes.
But the funny thing is I never practiced as a lawyer.
Right.
But I never actually qualified as an accountant, but I only practiced as an accountant all my life. And I learned with him, so the hard way.
Yeah.
Because when I started with him, he was making me open the door to the clients when they come to the office. And he used to say, "Don't bother me unless you're really, really stuck and you can't answer any questions." So that's how I learned.
Yeah.
And then, so my father died and so on. I got a business with my brother. It didn't go too well. I don't know, anybody that's listening to the podcast, don't work with family.
Yes.
Anyway, so as I said earlier, my sister married an Englishman, so I just moved to the UK.
Okay.
And I stayed in the UK for 19 years as an accountant. But what happened is when I was in the UK, I started the other side of me, the other side of my brain. They've got the logical side of the brain, which is the accountant, because I do love the fact that 2 + 2 make 4. But I also love the fact that 2 + 2 could make 6. Why not? So
yes.
And that's the logical side of my brain. So I love that. So that's when I went to the other side, which is the psychic stuff, the rebirthing, and the EFT.
Yes. So let's talk about that. So if we fast forward, you moved to Hong Kong 22 years ago. You carry on working as an accountant, and now you're moving into this different area. Do you want to just?
So even when I was in London, I had a big practice as a psychic.
Yeah.
And when I came to Hong Kong, to start with, I was quite busy setting up the office with my brother-in-law. But then I linked myself to the New Age shop, which was in Old Bailey Guy. And that was fantastic because it allowed me to actually do both paths. I was running both parallel. And that worked very well. I had a workshop every Monday night called GPS, Group Psychic Support.
Okay.
And that's how I developed it. So in the meantime, so I practiced a lot and I did a lot of seminars. And when I was in the UK, I got very, very involved with somebody called the Loving Relationships Training. And I got involved with Rebirthing. And I went to the US. I spent a few months in the US to learn I went to a rebirthing school to learn it. And all that, and I carried on being an accountant.
Yes. Okay.
But I was doing
Right.
I was doing in the latest years in is it?
Yeah, the latter years.
Latter
yeah.
years in London. I was an accountant I was a part-time accountant.
Yeah.
So I used to work through firms like accountancy personnel, or
Yeah.
whatever. So they send me here and there for 1 week, for 5 days, and then I'd do the rest. I'd do all the
Yeah.
rebirthing and the psychic stuff.
Okay. So that, for me, that's the boring bit, the accounting bit. That's the bit that pays lodgings and food and all the rest of it and does that bit.
Yeah,
then,
but I still have to say something, which is I do enjoy being an accountant.
Yeah, okay.
And the reason why I do enjoy it is because I create something.
Yes.
You know, it's like most of because I'm self-employed now. You know, I've got my own company, so I've got I'm not a company accountant. I'm a freelance accountant, so I've got many clients. Some of them, you know, with them I have what I call the Shoebox Syndrome, which is like every so often they give me a shoebox over there. And what I like,
isn't it?
and what I like to do is basically, so I get all that, you know, that mess. I put it together, and then I call them and I say, okay, you've made so much profit, or you've made a loss, or we could change it, we could change that, and I feel I've created something, and I quite like that.
Yes. That's the job satisfaction bit.
Well,
that's the payoff
I think what happens also with the accounting here in Hong Kong, most of my clients are actually Westerners, okay, small businesses and so on, British, Americans, French. The issue they have with Chinese firms, and I'm not criticizing, they're excellent at what they do, but they don't like to give advice.
Right.
Because I think you know, they fear that maybe. But what my clients like is that I do give advice.
Yes.
So I just meet up with people. I say, I don't tell them what to do, but I say you could do this or that or the other. And I can help them choose. And so, but they have the last word and they do it themselves. And I think that's why I've got a good little, you know, portfolio here. And I enjoy, and some people have done accounts for like 15 years, and I know them well.
Yes, yes.
So this is why I also enjoy it, because you know, they're not. I can't really say my clients are friends, but they're not acquaintances. They're a bit more than acquaintances. They're not really friends, but I know them very well. So I enjoy the rapport. You know, so that's.
Yeah. Well,
so from both sides, you know, the rebirthing, psychic stuff, and the accounting side, I get a lot quite out of both. Yeah.
Okay, so let's move now on to, I don't know, how would you badge it? Does the whole lot come under a banner of psychic?
Well, I call myself psychic counsellor because I'm not a psychic. Meaning that you come to see me and I tell you everything you already know, or I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. I seem to have the ability to know where people stand in life, and I help them with the present. And you know what I said earlier, the point of power is in the present. That's very much what I do. I refuse to tell people the future, which I could. But again, if I tell people the future, what do they have to look forward to?
Yes.
You know, it's just like you need to allow people to actually do things themselves. So it's more empowering to tell people where they are, why they are there, and basically guide them and tell them that 2 ways to go. Either now you know why you're there, when then you come from choice. You're no longer a victim, so you can stay there, but it's your choice.
Yes.
Or you decide to change it, and we can talk about it, and I can guide you how to change it.
Yes.
But basically, my big thing in life is trying to make people stop being victims and empower them to be in charge, basically. And as I said, they don't have to change, but at least they know where they're there, and it comes from choice.
Yes. Yeah.
No longer victims. I hate victims.
Yes. Yeah. You know, we were talking earlier, and you were telling me, I think for you break this psychic consultancy down to the rebirthing aspect and the what you call EFT.
EFT, emotional freedom technique. Now, EFT is basically based on the Chinese acupuncture system, and instead of using needles, you use fingers and you tap in certain meridian points on the body. Now, originally, the people that started this only tapped on the meridian that was linked to the issue people have, because they come from the fact that we store at cellular level emotions or anxieties or dramas or whatever. So if you tap on the part of the body that's linked to that emotion, for instance, a very cliche one is that the seat of anger is the kidneys, for instance. So if people want to deal with anger, you tap on the meridian that's linked to the kidneys. Now, they found out subsequently that basically at the end of the day, it didn't matter which meridian you were tapping on. You didn't have to direct it to a particular organ, a specific organ. You could tap to parts of the body as long as they were linked to a meridian.
Right.
And it's based on the Chinese meridian system. Now, rebirthing is something completely different. Rebirthing is a breathing technique, hyperventilation, but monitored. And what it is because it gives all the cells in your body so much energy that the blood flows to the brain and so on, and it opens some memories or some that were important to you. And what it does, it takes back to a place where something happened and you made a decision because of what happened, and that decision, although it might have served you at the time, no longer does.
Right.
And then you realize why. I've had a lot of people. I've been rebirthing for a long time, and I've had people rebirthing, and right in the middle of the rebirth, suddenly they burst out laughing, because suddenly they've come to realize why something keeps happening in their lives, and they say, "Oh my God, this is where it comes from." Do you know?
Yes,
what I mean?
yes.
So
yes.
My philosophy around all that, if I may,
absolutely, please,
is that when we're born, basically, because my first rebirth was very much about that. I went through the birth canal. It's called rebirthing because you may go through your birth again, but it doesn't necessarily happen. Okay, mine did, and I felt so much love, and I realized subsequently, not at the time, that basically when we come to this planet and we spend 9 months with our mother, basically, all we know is the love, because, I mean, she feeds us, she breathes for us, she does everything for us.
Yes.
And, she does it out of love, okay? And we come out and we're full of love. And that's what I call our life software.
Right, okay.
The original software is love.
Okay.
And then the minute you're born, things start happening. Now, the first thing that happens is just like you come out, it's been warm for 9 months. Suddenly, even if the room is warm, it's colder than inside. So there's the shock. They slap you on God knows what to do. They rub you. So it's kind of frightening. Okay, so that's the first thing. Life is frightening. So you could make that decision. The woman that started rebirthing with a man called Raynaud, it's called Sandra Ray, and she wrote a book called Birth and Relationship, and it's really interesting. I was talking to you earlier about cesarean, because if you've been in the womb minding your own business for 9 months, it's nice, it's cozy, everything's fine, and suddenly all hell opens, and you're pulled out, and there's blood everywhere, there's chaos,
Yes.
And the same way,
traumatic.
Very traumatic, and the same way if you're premature, for example, you put in an incubator, where the first few weeks of your life, you can only relate to people through a wall of glass, basically.
Yes.
And that can really affect your life in future. Now, back to the original software, which I call love. Now, life goes on, and when just to give you an example, so when I came out of that rebirth, I was not a kid, okay, I was a grown-up man, but I felt all this love, and I went home, and in London, and my brother-in-law was there. It was quite late in the night, and he was still talking to one of my cousins, who's American. And I just looked at them and said, "I love you both," and I kissed them. But I mean, Frenchmen kiss anyway, chick. And they were always, hey, hang on a minute. And that's what life is about, all I had is love. It was pure, it was innocent, and I was pushed away. And that's what happens in life, So you start life, and things start happening, which are very much unlike love.
Yes.
And you start making decisions.
Right.
And those decisions you make all along your life, I call those viruses.
Right, okay.
And you get to a stage in life where it's no longer the original software that rules your life, it's the viruses.
Okay, yeah, they've kind of wiped out that
exactly.
initial.
So what you need to do, you need to do
a rebalance or whatever, a reset.
A reset of the software.
Yes.
And that's what rebirthing does. It takes you back to places where you've made decisions. I always use very, very cliché example. Just say this little girl, she's 4 years old, she adores her dad, and either the parents divorce or the dad dies in a car crash or at war, whatever. Anyway, so the man she adores abandoned her.
Right, yes.
Because, kids tend to, most of the time, to take things personally.
Yeah.
And they think they're responsible if things happen
in
the family that disturbs the family, energy. And then, so, she goes through life thinking the man I love abandoned me, basically.
Yes.
Now, same type of example, you've got this little boy, not the same family, but his father dies also, and the mother transfers to him all the love that she had for the father and all the love she wanted from the father. And this little boy is going to grow up thinking, I have to be the man of the family and so on. But this love is stifling.
Right.
And he gets to an age where he wants to start going out, and the mother is very possessive and so on. And he starts thinking, you know what, I just can't get on with it. I mean, I have to get out of here.
Yes.
Now, 20 years later, these two meet up.
Yes.
They get married. It's all fun and so on for 2 years. And after 2 years, he wants to get out because and she thinks, how come he hasn't left me yet? Because, men I love leave me. So she pushes him away. And it's what we call dovetailing patterns.
Yeah,
they have a dovetailing. And that's what rebirthing does. It can take you back to a place where you realize, oh my God, this is what happened. I know it's very cliche, but I have actually seen it with clients when I was rebirthing people. So it is actually true. And that's what rebirthing does. So it takes you back to a place where you made a decision. That decision was valid at the time, but it no longer serves you.
Yeah.
But it still rules your life.
Yeah. So it's called rebirthing because basically what you're doing is you're, through conversations with somebody, you are going back to when everything was equal and when they were in the womb and there wasn't any problem. Or are you saying that they could be pre-traumatized before they're born?
They will. Okay, a typical rebirthing session, to start with, you just talk to the patient and find out what the issues are and so on. So you know a bit more, and I use the psychic stuff to pinpoint what's going on and so on. And then they start breathing. Now, they go to a place where they need to go, but you will not. My experience is, and every rebirther will tell you, you do not allow anything you cannot handle come up.
Right.
So you go back to a place where something happened and you made a decision. Now it could be that you go back to that specific place because you've been talking about it before.
Yeah.
But most of the time you can go back to a completely different place. But the end result matches what we were talking about.
Right.
Yes. Do you know what I mean? So,
yes.
So people might think, oh, I'm like this because of that, but then they realize, no, it's not. But the end result is the same. They talk about why they are the way they are. Basically, as I said earlier, I think it's empowering people to allow them to know why they are the way they are.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
But doesn't that, you're getting them to that stage through conversations, and isn't then it dependent on how good their memory is or their own recognition? How do you get them back to a stage that
they do by
subconsciously know, breathing, but don't consciously know? Maybe
it's just the breathing. As I said, the breathing gives so much oxygen to the body that all the organs start getting tingly and you get more blood to the brain and so on, and it unlocks some memories that you didn't even know you had.
Okay.
That's what it does.
Okay. So it's not just discussion.
No.
It's about breathing techniques, and it's about bringing on another state of being or mind.
Exactly, almost. Yes, almost. You go to another state, an altered states. It's very powerful, and it could be. I mean, it doesn't have to be traumatic at all. It can be. As I said, I've had people burst out laughing, realizing, oh my God, that's where it comes from.
Yes, something small that they're blown up big over their whole life.
Something that you might think is small now was probably big at the time.
Yes.
but you don't realize it still runs your life.
Yes.
That's what I call empowering.
Okay. And so this would come up in a series of discussions to get to this point, would it? It's...
No, I mean, it's depending on how much comes up during the first session. You might not need another session, but you might need more. It really is up to you to see how much you've cleared of whatever baggage you think you have. You know? I don't push people, I don't force people to do things, but if they find that they get something really, really good out of it, it's probably best to have more than just one session.
Yeah.
And but you know what? I mean, I've been rebirthing myself because I do it almost every day for way over 30 years. And there are days where I still come up with, my God, I just can't believe, I haven't already seen that, But but it's very mild because I've been doing it for such a long time. Yeah. So I don't have anything really, really...
any big problem
big thing coming
surface
up.
Or whatever.
But it's there's always a little something, It's just like, and then you might rebirth and not realize that basically that day you were tired or you were angry, and you say, hey, hang on a minute, I realize what, and this is why, and I find it. I find it. It makes my life really, really easy because it allows me to take responsibility for what happens in my life. I completely take responsibility.
I mean, what I would say is that I have a very open mind about medicine, Western medicine, Chinese medicine, any type of help and support whatsoever. I have no closed mind. And so I would gravitate to whatever was interesting or that seemed to have a solution at the time. So for me, at the moment, I think largely I'm a happy person. I don't have any big sort of traumas or problems out there. I think there's two reasons why I would do this. One would be if I did, and the second reason would be actually I'd quite like to try it just to see if I did, because maybe I do and I don't know it and it's affecting me.
Okay, so my answer to that is very simple. I don't actually tell people you must have a rebirth.
Yes.
That is not at all the message I'm actually trying to give out today. Okay. What I'm just saying is I'm trying to help people find reasons why they are where they are. Now, if people feel that they're really stuck, nothing works for them, they can't move on in life, that's, I think, who would benefit from a rebirth. Yeah. But, I mean, I know you. Yeah. I mean, you look like a very happy person, and I'm talking to rebirthing now to you because we're doing this podcast. But I would not say, okay, Gary, hang on a minute, you need one. Yeah. And I would never say that anyway.
No, but no. I know. So what you're saying is you would leave that you wouldn't ever talk anybody into it. Well, it's their decision to come to you.
Well, yeah, and the reason why the reason why I'm talking about it is that so people know that there are techniques like rebirthing and EFT that can help them. But I'm not going to go out walking down the street and looking at people and saying, you need one or you don't or you need. No, that's not at all the purpose. No. The purpose is for people to know that if they're stuck, there is always a way out. And rebirthing can help, but other technique. I mean, some people are miserable because they're not good in their body, so it could be osteopathy that works for them. Do you know what I mean? That could change. Some people could have their lives changed through that.
With a more traditional medicine.
It's just like it's just a matter of finding what works for you. And again, works for you if you think nothing works for you. But if everything is fine, there's no reason why you should rebirth.
Yes. So earlier on we were talking about, you were saying when, sort of 30 years ago, I think you paid a lot of money to go onto a course in London, which was something called Rebirthing that you'd never heard of. Yeah. Just tell us a little briefly about, what you found there.
It was a seminar called the LRT, the Loving Relationships Training, run by a woman called Sandra Ray. So I went to this seminar completely, I had no idea what it was about, but a friend of mine who's a tarot reader and a very good psychic told me, it's good for you, go. On the Saturday night, there's a group rebirth, and I had no idea about it. I had no idea what it was. And there were about 200 people in a hotel in central London. And we all lie down on the floor and started breathing. And I got the most amazing experience because I got stuck in my breath because it was not monitored properly. But then the woman, Sandra, came to me and said to me, Philippe, what are you hanging on to? Because if you don't breathe properly, the breath during a rebirth is connected, inhale and exhale, but you can't push on either.
Yeah.
So it's like a rhythm.
It's a natural
rhythm, but you can't push on the inhale or the exhale one. And if you do, it creates something called tetany, which I had. And so you're a bit like stiff in the hands, and the mouth looks a little bit as if you've had too many facelifts, you know.
Yeah,
Anyway,
okay.
so she said, what are you hanging on to? And I remember saying, all I want is for them to love me. And then so everything disappeared, and I fell asleep. And then when I woke up like I felt like a little baby. I was full of love. And I had about 5 people around me looking at me and say, oh my God, you look like a newly born baby. And I think I was in my 40s then, so I was not a baby at all.
Yes,
You know what I mean. And you know, you teach what you need to learn. So I had to learn more about it. So I ended up becoming a rebirther.
Yeah.
So I got really involved in London with a group of people, and then I went to the US and trained in a rebirthing school for a few months. And that's how it all started.
Okay. And so that's the sort of rebirthing side of what you do, which generally is through discussions and breathing exercises that may tap into something that's there, maybe subconsciously, that once brought forward could improve current situations. Sure. The other thing that you mentioned was EFT.
Yeah.
So how does that work? Are they complementary to each other? Are they separate things?
It all depends. EFT, based on the fact that we store emotional memories at cellular level. So EFT works on the same meridians as Chinese acupuncture, but you use fingers instead of needles. With EFT, you deal more with a specific issue.
Yes.
Okay. So, for instance, you could actually deal with people that are completely addicted to cigarettes, to smoking.
Right.
And so you get somebody that's really craving for a cigarette. You could be craving for a glass of wine. You could be craving, but cravings are really good. And you start tapping. On a craving, and you say, well, if you want a cigarette right now between 1 and 10, which is 0 and 10, how much do you want it? And say, oh my God, I want it for 12. You know, I'm desperate. And you start tapping, and you do for a few sessions, a few rounds, and you can actually bring it down to almost 0.
Okay.
And that person can walk out and say, I don't want a cigarette now anymore.
Yeah.
And that's what it does. So emotions and feelings are stored in the body, because basically when you're addicted to cigarette, I mean it's a physical feeling. I used to smoke a lot a long time ago, and you know you feel it physically when you have this craving. I mean, it's obvious, and tapping really helps.
Okay.
So rebirthing is more to do with going back to a place something happened, but you can't remember what it is.
Yeah.
Tapping is more to do with dealing with a very specific issue.
Yeah.
Anger, craving, things like that.
Yeah. So somebody would specifically go to you and say, it's then rather, so if you know, perhaps my simplistic view of it is that the rebirthing is something which is tapping into your mind, your brain, your subconscious, and helping you resolve something from that perspective. Whereas the EFT is tapping into, as you say, these Chinese meridian lines that we have in our body, and in tapping on those can help you with a health issue.
It can.
Not necessarily a mind issue. If I came to you today and said, right, okay, Philippe, can I have a rebirthing session? How would that take? What would we do? Where would we go?
So
we'd have
a chat for about 15, 20 minutes or half hour, depending. And then you start lying down, and I don't time the lying down, so you can breathe for half hour. You can breathe. Some people are finished in 20 minutes. Some people take 2 hours. Because some people keep falling asleep, so I have to keep waking them up.
Okay.
And then when you come out, you tell me where you went and what happened, and so on and so on.
So they go into sort of almost like a sort of
altered state.
Yeah, into an altered state, which would be like hypnosis type state.
But I'm there to monitor. Okay, so
yes.
What I want to add to that also is what I've learned with rebirthing through personal experience and seeing with other people also is you can't change the past.
No.
But you can actually look at it from a different angle.
Yes.
And what happened to me, which was very significant, is I used to rebirth with this woman back in London, and we were talking about anger and so on, and I was talking about, I've always had problems with my father, meaning that I didn't have any problem with him. I grew up thinking I didn't even have a father. He was there all the time. He looked after us, but never a conversation, nothing, and I was scared of him.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I started rebirthing, and something came up that I was not quite sure what to do with, but I confronted my mother.
Yeah.
And she was still in France at the time, so I called her and I said, can you actually be honest with me and tell me, is Dad my dad?
Yes.
And my mother didn't like to be taken by surprise, and I took her by surprise, and I'm glad I did, because it was just after the war, and we were short of meat, so I went to see somebody, and so on. I said, okay, fine.
Okay.
So what I realized is that my father probably thought I wasn't his.
Yes.
But although he thought I wasn't his, I'm the only one of three, because I'm the last one of three, that he put through university and so on and so on. And I realized through rebirthing and through bringing that up that, well, okay, but now I reckon, considering he didn't think he was my dad, he didn't do a bad job.
Yes. Yes.
And the following day, I went to see my rebirther.
Yeah.
And she opened the door and she looked at me and she said, "Oh!" She said, "You've lost your anger."
Yeah.
And I said, yes. So basically,
it got it in perspective.
Well, I didn't change the past, because the past was the past. But I realized I changed the way I looked at it. And I stopped blaming him. I stopped hating him, because I went through a stage when, especially when I was a teenager, I found out things, and I used to hate him. And all that went completely. Yeah. And I realized, okay, well, at the end of the day, you're not so much a bad person. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So I didn't change anything, but I didn't rewrite it. I didn't rewrite it, but in my mind, I rewrote it. I saw it from a different angle.
Basically, we'll give out your contact details. You run a weekly session, do you, or regular sessions? How do you do things?
It all depends. I mean, I'm linked to one of the new centres that has opened here in Reynaud,
right?
The wellness centre. But I can practice from there, or I can practice from home.
Okay.
Most people work, so usually sessions are in the evening.
Yeah.
Or at weekends. I don't mind working on Saturdays.
Right. And you're based here on Lantau Island.
Yep.
And available. Would you just say that you would limit to people living on Lantau or practicing here?
No.
Well, that's great. That just remains for me to say, Philippe, thank you very much for coming today.
Thanks for having me at Studio 114.
You can listen to all our Vibrations podcasts published on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Amazon Music, TuneIn and Alexa, Stitcher, Listen Notes, Player FM, SoundCloud, and I don't think I've left anything out of the list, have I there? Or you can watch on our YouTube channel under Live Vibe HK, or follow the links from my website at vibehk.com. The opening and closing music comes from Celestial and is called Green Island Dub, and is on the Retrospect vinyl album, on sale at Vibe. Finally, a reminder that Vibe is open 7 days a week, every day of the year, from 12 noon until approximately 6:30 p.m. Well, that's it for another week. Thanks for listening to the 41st Vibe Book and Music Shop podcast called Vibrations. I'm Gary Brightman. You get my vibe?
Can you imagine what this old island must have looked like to those Dutch sailors when they first saw it? Fresh green. Like a dream of a new world.
They must have held their breath. Afraid it would disappear before they could touch it.